So I'm continuing to work my way around the kitchen, and one of the things I discovered yesterday is I'd been just using razor blade, score, push through, slide, cut for all of my outlet cutouts because I can't really use some of the other tools that I bought just because of the way this is working out. The magnetic one, it came out of the box because I have to slide these in and then push them up, and that movement, it was binding and it slid out of the box on one, so I couldn't do that. And then those little green poker ones, I'll show you those. Those obviously wouldn't work either because I'm putting them in like that behind that counter. So once we get out of this area, then I can use some of those tools. But for now, all of these, even these outlets and switch boxes that did not have anything put in them yet, I'm having to pre-cut. I'm using this fellow here, and it works great. Man, I should have thought of this before. I cut quickly, smoothly. There's not that much dust to it. The cuts are pretty accurate, at least as accurate as my razor blades. Just in case you see and you're wondering what's going on, they were inspected, they were there, they approved them. But I've got a hole cut out. Each place where there's a discrete section of upper cabinet, we're doing under cabinet lighting, and I'm just gonna take the wire through, and most of them come with their own junction box, so once it comes out of the wall, it'll be in a junction box, either below the lip, in which case it's coming through the cabinet back, because the lip is very small on the bottom, and then junction box and then going down through, or maybe the junction box will go below the cabinet as well. Probably it will be junctioned up in the cabinet. But that's what those wires are for, and that's why I have a hole up here already. Now that may not survive my installation, but having a way of cutting these out that leaves them, I mean, that's no way I could have done that with either the heavy duty saw cutter, which I haven't even used on this project yet, and I may not, I don't know. That's what I used to use. But it just has big aggressive teeth and it rips and tears as you saw through, or with scoring and then eventually pushing through with my box knife. So it's sure hard to stay focused when it's spring outside and beautiful, and we're not even planting a garden this year. Towards the fall, I'm still hoping that we'll have the house done and at least enough to move in, and we'll put all of our energy into that until then, and once the fall hits, I'm hoping we'll be able to transform this hillside, or at least start that transformation, and then maybe plant in the spring. Wrapping up on, this is the second full day, 5th day where I've been out here working on this now, and we've made some pretty good progress today. So that wall still to be done because I have that giant stack there. But over here, this alcove is done. We're done all the way to here. And over in the kitchen, let's go over that way. All the way down to the end, minus that top piece there, we're wrapped to the wall. And I'd originally figured that the rock part would take a little bit more than a month, and that the mudding part would hopefully only take about a month. And I had figured in total about 2.5 months. So we might still be tracking for that. I am getting faster as I go. And it's obviously everything I cut, everything I put up is more room that I can work with. And we've moved, we had the stack of 8s that are mostly green board for bathrooms, and a couple of 5/8 for under the stairs. So they're out of the way in here, and that's allowing me to finish this wall. And then I'll swivel all of this over here if we don't just walk it upstairs. So I'm pretty pleased. Let me show you all of my mistakes. So on this corner, I don't know if it's really a mistake, but here's one that just happened. So here's the tools that I'm kind of working with. I have one driver that I use to be able to back these screws on these in and out, so I don't have to take off and mess with, on my main driver, mess with the bit that's on there, which is a drywall bit. It's just handy to have. I have a little drywall router all set up, and I have a oscillating multi-tool, which has been amazing. I've never used that for drywall before, and I wish I had. So this sheet obviously came over to this side, and so I put it up and I ripped it in place. I cut the back end, and then I used that little router bit, a drywall router, and I ran it down, and it did kind of shred this corner. It's gonna get capped, so it doesn't really matter, but at the same time, I don't know that that's my favorite way. I would consider that to be a mistake. I probably wouldn't do that again. Here's somewhere where I had to get a little creative. You can't really tell because I preserved almost all of the indentation at the edge, but I had to cut this just a hair, a fuzz, about 1/4 of an inch, had to cut off, maybe 3/8, in order for this to hit this stud really nice. And I felt pretty confident. Because it wasn't that much of it, and it did come out pretty good. I think it'll easily finish just the same as the others. It's not really a butt joint at that point. So here's another mistake I made. That is a hole from a screw that I was using to pull tape measure off of, and then forgot it was there and slammed this up into the ceiling. I just decided, because I'd already kind of like worked that corner before that popped, I was just gonna patch it. And because this is actually a butt joint, it's a regular joint, because I went this way with this sheet, a side joint, and then these two are coming this way. So it's a butt joint, so that's gonna get easily covered, and it would have had to have been covered anyway. This sheet, that's a much bigger gap right there than I would have liked, and it will also cover just fine, but I would have preferred that be tighter. Up here, everything else has actually gone pretty well. I've been pretty pleased. All of these, for me, for hand measuring, these all came out pretty well. All of these boxes came out pretty well. And this corner is the only spot where I had trouble getting the boards to fit behind my little platform here. I didn't quite leave enough room. And there was a nail that the head stuck out, and it caught the board, but it went down. I made it go down. Oh, yes, I did. So still a long ways left to go on this part of our house build, but every board that I put up really makes this house start to feel like a house. And it is incredible how much quieter a new construction house that's built pretty tightly and with a higher level of insulation than they used to build with. It's so quiet. It's so quiet. I've never had that before. We've always had houses where you can hear quite a bit from the outside, and I think once we have the windows sealed around, like the edge at the rough open, and then the trim on, it's going to be even quieter. So we have a bird that really wants to come in. Not really sure why. Like, what's the deal for this little robin? But like, it's knocking on this window. I'm about to start the haul. I'm gonna hold off on the last little bits of the kitchen. There are a couple of things I got to figure out before I close that up, just to make sure we're 100% good to go. And that means it's time to start the bathroom, the closet, and the hall. And just like everything else in here, I've got a fair amount of space now, but I started off with very, very little space, and there's stuff in my way. And the fewer times I have to move a panel, the happier I will be. I've already had to move a lot more than I would have liked, and that's just, we were rushed when we put it in to the house. So yeah, let's take a look at what the order of operations is, I guess. And then the only other thing I can say is that if we'd had the time to do this the right way, what I would have preferred to have done would have been to, put everything close to, but not in the way of where I would be working. And then you can kind of work the stack down as you go. And we just had most everything on the first floor. There she is. Take off, little bird. Go be happy somewhere. Anyway, little bird aside, here's our haul, and I still can't put that back up into place because I have a few more 4x12s, I want to get up the stairs. My brother's going to probably help me with that this weekend. I'm guessing. All right, I had to use my child's art to discourage her from trying to come through this window. I'd opened it up and now she can hear me too, and she's not currently trying to kill herself on this window, but that was weird. And then I remembered that it was right around this time last year when we had that robin, I think, who is starting to nest outside here up over the porch in that corner, and ended up losing its babies because, you know, it got really hot and it was way too hot. That's not a safe place for her to nest. So that'd just be sad, you know? Not quite right in the head. That robin is missing a few screws for sure, but nevertheless, maybe I need to get that closed up and have my kid do some of these upper parts of these windows because, you know, they only have done art where they can reach. So if they cover them, then maybe it'll find someplace else to nest, because I'm not sharing my house with the robin. All right, so I'm working on the bathroom now. That's why we have this green board. Blue or green board, depending on your brand, is going to be your moisture resistant. It just has a different waxy type paper to it, and that helps prevent mold and mildew from setting in and creating problems in a damp environment. We're only doing this in bathrooms and not the entire bathroom either. This bathroom, pretty much all of it, because it doesn't have an exterior window, and because I expect that it will get used more and oftentimes used by the kids now and then by us when we're old. And, you know, if you're forgetting to use the fan necessarily as much as you should, use the fan every time and then leave it running, and that gets all that moist air out of the building. But if you forget, then having this board can be a little bit more important. In general, it's not required. And in fact, code has specific things it stipulates about not saying you should use it anywhere, but saying you shouldn't use it under certain circumstances. And I'm trying out a new tool. This is a Klein tools cutout tool. So I have not tried this yet. I have it set. I have my center marked for a light that I'm installing into this sheet. Let's give this a try. The nice thing that I found about this already is that it's clear, so you can see what you're doing. So it definitely did it, but I'm a little confused as to why that was so hesitant and so violent. Interesting. So I know why that was so violent. I had it set to drive forward, and I think that was actually getting the back. So that ripped this thing. I don't know why it would do that. That is bizarre. So I'd rather be doing this. Oh, you are very crooked today. So I'd rather be doing this with vertical sheets and running this straight up. However, I only had 8 foot in MMR, the mold and mildew resistant board, the green board for us. I only had 8 foot available to me, and so we're going to go across. And in this particular case, I'm starting at the top so that I can get a nice tight fit at the top without having a cut. I would rather have my cut down on the bottom. And it's not easier that way, but I don't know that it's particularly harder. I think that it probably is going to give me a nicer result. So that's what we're doing. I've given myself some screws in here just below 4 feet from the top on the outsides, because I think they might be just a hair down compared to the inside. I don't know, maybe an eighth, probably less. And then that way I can get this put up and in place, provided that the light is in the right spot. Well, if I want that to go in here nice, I better shave just a hair off that side. It's gonna need a little bit of that top, I think. But the screws are in about the right place. I don't think I'm gonna take a whole lot, just a little bit here. That'll work. Pacification device. All right, here's another stupid sheet. Gotta get all this stuff to go into that spot. Thank goodness I missed that guy just by a hair. And take one. Well, I attempted to film that, or so I thought. It's in now. Do have a slight gap as we go to the one side. And down here I had to open this up quite a fuzz. You can see. So that, and then I found out that the way I have these guys in here, the dog ears were kind of sticking out, so I should have gone for a higher gauge. But they were dead on, at least. They were right where they needed to be. I just had to fuzz them out. And this one was perfect. So it was really just this guy that was bad, and then my not realizing that those nubs stuck out too far. That is really funny that it thinks that's blue. At least that looks like it thinks it's blue to me. Blue-green, it's just green. It's very much like a sage green. But that light on the camera is picking up as blue. Weird. Well, the bathroom is almost done. And that means that I can take the rest of these green boards upstairs. Probably wait until I have someone to help me take them up the stairs, but I might grab them with a little panel carrier tomorrow. And once they're upstairs and out of the way, then I can work on this hall a little easier, because I need to be able to get the machine in here to lift the ceiling stuff first. I do still have a couple of details I have to wrap up on before I can do that. Need a nailer right up in here, especially here at the corner, but across there. The top here over this chase, got to put a board across for the piece of drywall to butt against that goes that way. I've left this open for now, and I haven't 100% decided yet. We got those 8-foot doors on the other side of the house. See one way through there, and then one is through there in dining. And so I thought about making this an 8-foot door and this an 8-foot door here. And, you know, partly it's just because sometimes the doors that we're looking at buying, the 8-foot version, like full true 8 feet instead of, you know, around 7, is cheaper. And I don't really know why, but it makes sense to me. If you get a bigger door for that space, it certainly would look nice. But now that I'm in here, you've got this closet that has a short door, and you've got the bathroom. And because of that chase, I'm thinking that it would look ridiculous if you had a tall door there. So probably that means this one's going to be a short door as well. And we'll just do all regular height, except possibly coming in over there from the laundry. So these pieces here, these last bits and whatnot, they're going to help me finish out the bottom. I did decide to go ahead and do a single tall here, and simply there's no real reason for me to scrap this way. I still have to put in this little bitty here, but it was going to be so close to 4. So instead I'll do a vertical in that space, and that should be fine. And then I think these two are a little bit bigger than these, but I'm gonna check them. And if it is, then I can use this one to fill in those pieces. And then these two, if in that circumstance, I'll run this once I have that ready, and then I'll cut it out. Because even though Casey has told me she doesn't think I need to, I would like to make this into the world's tiniest towel storage. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next video.